Today, I will meet the world with both feet firmly planted and my heart wide open. I will feel the strength of my foundation, a reminder that I am supported, connected, and part of something larger. Within this sense of steadiness, I allow my heart to soften, not forced, just a gentle loosening, enough for light to get in, enough for wonder to breathe. I will let curiosity be my compass. What's ahead is not something to control or to manipulate, but rather it's simply something to explore. Every interaction, every moment, an opportunity to learn, to be surprised, to expand. When my mind rushes ahead or fear narrows my view, I will remind myself to return to that rooted strength. From the ground up, I have room to rise. From the heart out, I have space to expand. May I move through today anchored in myself, yet open to the beauty and possibility that comes when I meet life with a curious, open, receiving heart. Well, hello. Welcome back, friends, to episode 7 of the deMysticism podcast. So these are my sacred conversations around radical self-love. And I have got some stuff to unpack this week. I don't know if you're listening to this in real time when they come out. This is publishing on Tuesday, August 19th. I am not an astrologer. I will qualify that, but I will say I'm a nerd for astrology. I have several friends that are wonderful experts in this area, and it's been a little wild, right? The energies have been wild. For me personally, I apparently have several different transits going on, which is interesting because I have had a wild past week. And what I really want to dive into in this episode is really in this idea of radical self-love. Some things that have come up for me as experiences and conversations and wild waves of emotion. So I'd love to talk a little bit about what self-love means in those moments where you really aren't loving yourself. Because a few different things that I can tap into right away are, I guess we'll just kind of dive right into initially relationships, specifically our closest relationships, our intimate relationships, our family relationships, and how those really are mirrors, are reflections back to us quite often of the areas that still need healing, still need love, and still need some raising of awareness, perhaps. So that, to put that in context, just because I want to be very, very real and vulnerable as I dive into this podcast. And I have an intention to hopefully bring my partner in for an episode where we can reflect on some things together. And the only reason I'm bringing that up now is because I had hoped that was going to happen. And by some of my own doings, it is not what this episode is. And I kind of went into some episodes of beating myself up over things and reverting into some not just past behaviors, but childlike behaviors. So when we talk about self-reflection, this is one of the ways that I am very committed to growing, to sit and reflect on what I create in my life or how people respond to me or what experiences I'm having anytime that those feel a little bit different than what I would hope that they would feel. It's an opportunity for me to self-reflect. And at what point does our self-reflection lean toward more like self-flagellation? So I have this platform of personal responsibility. I really do believe that we are the creators of our experiences, like I just said. And sometimes that can be very, very challenging because we create things that maybe we don't want to experience. And I have noticed that I sometimes have this tendency to take that personal responsibility piece and use it like a fucking weapon against myself. So specific example would be, I had invited him to come and have a conversation with me, and life happens, right? Like things get in the way. We were trying to get it done. The time never really lined up. And at the same time, I was not really making it clear how important that was to me, that I wanted to have some time to do that. And we ended up kind of getting into a little bit of a thing about it where tears were shed, and we were very constructive in how we confront issues with each other. So this is no way a means of bashing on him or pointing any fingers, but recognizing where I could see very clearly in a moment where I was upset that I was responsible for not having said, this really matters to me. I want to prioritize this over other things that were also needing to be done. But I turned that into not just being upset that it didn't happen, but then being upset with myself for not insisting, and kind of went into this like chaotic spiral of emotion. And also sharing this because I think sometimes there is this perception that people who teach yoga or do sound or are quote unquote in this healing space, I have a challenge with the word healer, but we'll use it for now for ease. That sometimes people from the outside believe that just because you're a yoga teacher, you're always calm and you're always rational and you're always so easygoing and you know how to operate in the world. And yes, certainly yoga has helped me craft some solid skills in that arena, and I'm still human and I still have this little wounded child that likes to come out and throw little pouty temper tantrums. But it's always because a wound gets poked, right? So when we talk about personal responsibility, that is one thing. I have a responsibility to tend to my own inner child. I have a responsibility to recognize when I have reverted back to a little 5-year-old that has been told to go sit in the corner and be quiet and not be annoying, and what that does in my body. It's something that I'm continuing to work through. And yes, I have that personal responsibility. However, what I don't need to own is anyone else's crap, whether that is something from my parents or my family or even my partner, because he is also human and he is going to react to my inner child sometimes also from a place of wounding or fear or whatever it is triggering for him. So when we really think about self-love, in those moments where the spirals are happening, and I am going to assume that anyone listening, at least on some level, understands that experience of you're feeling a little hurt, your emotions are a bit out of control. I don't like this language, but I don't have better language at the moment. But your emotions are kind of big. Let's just call them big. And you're feeling them very deeply. And you don't always have the capacity in those moments to pull yourself out of that. I was heading into this place where it just started to spiral into, no wonder you could never have a successful relationship, and you're just too much, and it's just too hard to love someone like you. And these are all some very untrue narratives. I don't care who you are, whether I'm talking about me or somebody listening. We are all 100% deserving and worthy of love. This is just inarguable, and we all carry some level of bullshit that is going to, in some way or another, very likely anyway, we'll have these moments where we feel we aren't deserving of that. We aren't worthy. Somewhere along the way, if you are in adulthood, you have had some experiences that made you feel that way, and you probably still carry some baggage, even if you've healed it, right? Like I do the oracle cards that I pull every year at the beginning of the year. I think I've mentioned them several times in this podcast. Anybody who follows me on Instagram has probably heard this ad nauseum, but my card for the month of August was, I think it was Chiron was the planet. Regardless, the message that I got from it was this paradox around being both wounded and healed. And of course, that's exactly what's showing up for me right now. I need to get my friend Lauren in here to talk about the astrology of this stuff as well, because it is wild parallels that it makes perfect sense why these things are coming up for me right now. But outside of astrology, using our conscious awareness, using the tools that we have picked up and put in our tool belt along the way, to love ourselves, even through these like moments of being a petulant little child who just wants to kick and scream and throw a temper tantrum and be heard. It's not easy when you are in that space of, you've got those narratives running through your head and you're just believing them. You're believing them. In those moments where you feel, at least for me, I'll speak in the I, in those moments when I feel just, I have no other way to describe it other than that crumpled little child, just beat down and sad. My rational brain could say, what you're saying to yourself is not true. And yet my nervous system, my body feels those things as truths until I can kind of calm down, bring myself back around. Thankfully, I do at this point in my life finally have a mirror, as in my partner, who can kind of help me work through that and at least be able to put down the sword, to drop the armor, and let some of that be felt and be witnessed. And even though, maybe he does have some reactions, he's very, very good about not, I think we both are trying not to escalate them. We can be in our wounded spaces and then come back around and at least acknowledge that, there's something going on there, because, we heal through relationship, and those people that are closest to us are, the longer that they're in our lives, the deeper we go into that connection, the more reflective that mirror becomes, and we start to see this real stuff about ourselves. And I will be honest, I did not like the version of me that showed up a few times over this past weekend. There were certainly some things that I'm not really proud of, I would say. And at the same time, some of it is just hurt. It's just hurt that needs to be felt, witnessed, loved on, all of these things. I say this kind of stuff all the time, and putting it into practice is kind of the next level. There's a big difference between knowing and doing. And I want to offer up some reflection questions here as I think through, what is it that happens when we go into those places of becoming the wounded child, of starting to repeat those messages that live so deep down in our subconscious that sometimes we don't even realize that that track is playing, that narrative is there. And then how do we remind ourselves of what is true for us? Because oftentimes that feeling of rejection from someone that we love deeply, it hurts so much because that's usually when we're rejecting ourselves, right? It's not always that other person was rejecting us, but we feel this hurt because we are rejecting the part of ourselves that we don't really want to be seen or witnessed or brought to the surface. And that, if you follow teachings of Abraham Hicks or any of those sorts of schools of thought, we have this inner being, we have this higher self that loves us no fucking matter what. And when we feel that pain of rejection, I guess is a good example. It is because, as Abraham Hicks would say, it's that our inner being or our higher self is not in alignment with that. It's out of alignment with the peace and the love and the appreciation that we inherently are meant to live in. So when we feel that discord, it's really just because we've come out of alignment with that. It's not so much about another human being projecting something on us. It's us projecting onto ourselves. So when you feel, if I think back to feeling like that little tiny hurt child and having these kind of very not constructive narratives running through my brain, what was really happening there was I was rejecting that wounded child. I was putting that little child in exile and not acknowledging the hurt and the pain and the grief that she has felt. This, I think, comes more from an internal family systems approach. And mind you, I am not trained in any of these things. They are just things that I have worked with, that I have found to work for me. And I like to share them. And so if you find yourself in those moments of just truly, when you step outside of yourself, do you think you are acting like a child? And when you are, what's the truth of the story you're telling yourself? If you are telling yourself a story of unworthiness, of unlovability, of anything that you may have felt in those moments, and that is lodged in your nervous system, it is part of you. When you come to a place where you can acknowledge that, if you can take a few deep breaths, something that does help me, I have one of these vibration plates now, and I just kind of get on there and shake the energy out, and it does seem to help bring me back into a little more sense of control over the experience. And I can ask myself those questions, like, what does that little Deb need right now? And how can she ask for it? This is a big one for me. Again, talking about my own work, but I think it's relatable to a lot of people. Not only am I feeling hurt, I'm not capable of asking for what would make me feel better, whether that is from my partner or something I could even offer myself. Work to do there for me, and being comfortable saying what I would want or need in that moment. So if I truly, deeply, madly loved myself, how would I react in this moment? There's my reflection question for you. The next time that you feel a little bit twisted up or a lot twisted up, when you've got some big emotions running and it seems like, there's all those little voices in your head telling you a whole bunch of bullshit. If you take 3 deep breaths, like fully expanding your lungs, and then deep exhales out. If I truly, deeply, madly loved myself, what would I give myself in this moment? What do I need to feel truly, deeply loved? And then say it out loud, like say it to yourself, say it to your partner. Ask your partner for a safe space to just be heard in that moment. And hopefully you have someone in your life that is willing to be that for you and probably just by doing it that way, you might get reflected back to you. At the very least, perhaps some empathy and understanding, but maybe you'd get exactly what you're asking for, and just some reassurance and some love from another person. Or maybe the reassurance and the love can come from you. I don't know how I got this to 20 minutes already, but this was a long episode, and I'm going to wrap it up right here. I might have to start making these longer. I don't even know if anybody is listening, but if this is valuable to you, please do leave me a comment, let me know, and then we'll close out today one more time asking, in any given moment, whether or not you're feeling good, bad, or somewhere in between, if I truly, deeply, madly loved myself right now, how would I respond to this situation? All right. Much love to all of you. Please go ahead, leave me a comment, subscribe to this. That helps me. Go find me on the Instagram, Deb_Caron. Caron is my last name, and let's have some conversations. All right. I've got plenty of yoga classes and sound healings and things coming up. If you're in the Phoenix area, would love to see you in the studio space or book some private sessions. This is all great.